Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Okay, so I had explained verse 26, and we have to read Swamiji's commentary, whoever has a book, chapter 4, verse 26. So just for the little background, so we get all come on track, that we're talking about different yagnas. The highest one is Brahma Arpanam, Brahma Havihi. That's the one that the vision is, everything is Brahman. That is our goal, everybody's goal. And that's what the self-realized people live in, that particular concept they live in. So we have to move towards that. And for that, Krishna Bhagwan is telling you different things that you can do and different people do that helps them to get that goal. So keep that in mind. And then we did the two yagnas that we do, the Deva Yagna and Brahma Yagna. And just to summarize, Deva Yagna was, that you can invoke a particular devta fully knowing that this is representing the Brahman, and do the puja archana or connect with that. It's like a personal God. And the other one is doing everything because you know that oneness is there. So whatever you do, it's a Brahma Yagna when you see that oneness and you kind of act accordingly, that becomes a Brahma Yagna. So those are what higher ones too. I think one or two people's thing is not on mute. So if everybody can check my mute, that'll be great. Yeah, because I'm just surprised at how sensitive the system is, just a little bit also. And then verse 1, that was 25th that I was talking about, verse 25th. 26th, we saw that how the sense organs were discussed, that in the Agni of Sanyam, you're pouring the sense organs, or basically when you're controlling your sense organs, that is the yagna. And there are both sides to it, both sideways. Let me think. So you are controlling in the sanyam, meaning you are doing a control at the sense organs level, and the other side is you are controlling what pours in it. So we are only trying to give it good stuff. And so it is both ways it can be yagnas. Controlling at the sense organ, and then the other one, Swamiji is going to explain that how from your mind. And I know that there was a question from Anilji. Is Anilji here? Ashaji, where is Anilji today? Was he going to come? Okay, when he comes, if he does come, then I will, because he had asked that question, and I kind of, sometimes, when I go back and listen to the recording, it helps me also, because I know what exactly he was asking. It's okay, don't worry about it. When he comes, we will discuss that. So I will hold off on that, because he had said, mind has to be behind the sense organs. So I wanted to discuss that, but that's okay. So what we will do today is read Swamiji's commentary, and this is like, I think Meena ji had brought this up, Shama and Dhamma, So this is going to be like a Shama and Dhamma. Okay, so that's what it's going to be. So Meena ji, you can read.
You did the Sanskrit, right?
So yeah, I did. Yeah, you just have to start yeah.
Okay. Some again offer hearing and other senses as sacrifice in the fire of restraint. Others offer sound and other objects of senses as sacrifice in the fire of the senses. Some other great masters offer hearing and other senses in the fire of restraint. In all these yajnas described, The metaphor is taken from the most familiar ritualism known at the time to Arjuna. Oblations were offered in the Vedic ritualism into the sacred fire in order to invoke the blessings of the deity. In these examples, we have shown how when some materials are offered into a sacred fire, not only the oblations get burnt up and consumed by the fire, but also as a result, a great blessing accrues. Here it is said that some masters live on in life, constantly offering their senses into the fire of self control, so that the senses of their own accord get burnt up, contributing a greater freedom and joy in the inner life of the man. It is also a fact, very well experienced by all of us, that the more we try to satisfy the sense organs, the more righteous they become and loot away our inner joy.
I think it's riotous. Riotous meaning, hangama machana, like, riot karna, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go
By
ahead.
self-control alone can the sense organs be fully controlled and mastered. This is yet another method shown to the seekers by which they can come to experience and live a more intense life of deeper meditation.
Okay, so let's stop here and then we will discuss this. So, like I said, this is like the dhamma part, जो shama और dhamma है ना. So everybody understood कि संयम of मतलब क्या बोलते हैं इंद्रिया संयम इंद्रिया संयम is like self control. So you are controlling your indriyas. So when say, okay, when you turn off the television or turn off certain thing, I don't want to see it. That's what it becomes. You're sacrificing that, those kind of things. So at the sense level, and Anilji is here. Anilji, do you remember you asked a question that mind has to be behind it for sense control? So I was thinking about it. That's absolutely right. But in Vedanta, they talk about different levels of mind, right? Mind at a lower level and mind at a higher and higher and higher level. So when mind is only connected with the sense organs without any discrimination, then it is the lowest level. And then when it is at an emotional level, then it is slightly higher. That's why kabhi kabhi, when our emotions are a little stronger, we sense control automatically ho jata hai. But that's also not ideal because तुम emotions में बह सकते हो. और उसके बाद आता है बुद्धि. बुद्धि is the one, मतलब mind के ऊपर बुद्धि. बुद्धि is the one which is like discriminative power. Hey, is this right or wrong? उससे connected होएगा तब वो और भी better होएगा. Highest is when you're reveling in Brahman. So there are these 4 levels of the mind where your mind is at. So what Krishna Bhagavan is giving advice, everybody is not at a higher level right now, right? So he's saying it's okay, start from the sense level only. Understand that if you pour in too much stuff through your senses, because you are at a lower level yet, it's going to be detrimental for you. तभी हम लोग बच्चों को भी बोलते हैं ना बहुत ज़्यादा टीवी मत देखो. हम लोग खुद भी कंट्रोल करते हैं वैसे भी, खाने का भी. हाँ, मेरे को जो मन हो रहा है वही मैं सब कुछ खाना शुरू कर दूंगी तो it will be detrimental for me. That's why we say, okay, I have to balance my diet and all. All that comes under this dhamma only. That, that my sense organs are demanding things, but I'm not letting it satisfy every craving of my sense organs. That's what it means. So when you do that from an understanding, then you are doing this, yagna of sense control. So that's where. Okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. If in this method the path of sense control is indicated, in the second line the path of mind control is suggested. The mind is sustained and fed by the stimuli that reach it from the outer world. The sense objects perceived by the organs create and maintain the mind. The mind can never function in a field which cannot be interpreted in terms of the 5 types of sense objects. Therefore, to make the mind non-receptive to the perceptions of the indriyas is a method by which one can gain a better poise in life for purposes of meditation. Such an individual who has controlled the mind completely and withdrawn it totally from the sense centers is indicated here when the Lord says, others offer sound and other objects in the fires of the senses.
Okay, so here this is the Shama. So this is how it is. There are certain times we can control at the sense level. पर हम लोग पूरे 24 घंटे तो आंखें बंद करके नहीं बैठ सकते, कान भर करके नहीं बैठ सकते. हम लोग बाहर निकलेंगे तो नेगेटिव थिंग जाएंगी ही, लोग कुछ बोलेंगे ही, वो सब होगा ही. When the things pour in, your mind doesn't react to it. That's what they're trying to say. Make the mind in such a way that even if something is pouring in, you control it at the mind level. So you don't let it go deeper in you. That's another way of looking at this. So that's why you're doing, if whatever you can do to control at the sense level, you do that. And the other one from the other side, you can do it this way. You know? So you are, like I said, you are जैसे enemy को दोनों तरफ से घेर रहे हो आप. So it will help you a lot more. So that's what it is. Any question about that? This whole concept? हाँ, बोलिए.
What is this? What is the meaning of the last line in this paragraph?
To make the mind non-receptive to the perception of the indriyas. That's वही जो मैं बता रही हूँ ना कि let me read the whole thing and then to make the mind non-receptive to the perception of the indriya is a method by which one can gain a better poise in the life for the purpose of meditation. Such an individual who has controlled the mind completely and withdrawn it totally from the sense centers is indicated here when the Lord says, others offer sound. Okay, that's exactly what I'm saying. कि जो चीज़ मैं बंद करके कंट्रोल नहीं कर पा रही हूँ और मेरे अंदर पोर हो रहा है, उसको मैं रिसीव ही ना करूँ. जैसे कि
What is the meaning of this last line here? Others offer sound in other objects. What does that mean?
Others offer sound because this is, he's just telling you the translation of the verse. You look at the second line of the verse. That's what it is. Go back to the literal translation of that verse. What does it say? पढ़िए वो literal translation क्या लिखा हुआ है 26 का.
इसका starting at the top of the paragraph?
नहीं.
Oh no, let me explain. Look at verse 26 and the first part is very clear to most people. Some offer hearing and other senses as sacrifice in the fires of restraint. ये तो clear था. I was also not clear what does it mean. Others offer sound and other objects of senses as sacrifice in the fires of the senses. ये second part जो है वो इस paragraph में explain किया गया है. And I think the second part basically means to control the mind so that even if your senses are being assailed from things outside which are beyond your control, at the mind level you reject everything and you don't let that affect you.
Perfect. Yes, absolutely. ये जो लिखा हुआ है ना वो खाली वो लोग repeat कर रहे हैं वो literal translation of the verse.
जो है verse का इसी 26 verse का second part था others offer sound, उसको यहाँ पे explain किया है.
Yeah, I see.
Got it? Very good. I'm happy because I told you this is a subtle language and sometimes it takes a little time, but that's fine. I'm very happy that all of you are making all this effort. That will lead us to clarity because our teacher used to say clarity is the main thing in Vedanta. So I think now we got it. That's what it is.
The simple example that I could think, and that's very simple, is like you go to a grocery store, and if you're not a vegetarian, you see the meat, you smell the meat, yet you don't react to it. There is no reaction to
that. That happens automatically, huh?
That happens automatically at that sense. So either you control, eventually that will happen, that will happen automatically. You won't even think of it, you won't, smell, okay. It doesn't bother you. When it doesn't bother you. But I think that's higher when you have control at the mind level also. Then it becomes a little higher that you don't even think of it. So I may be going a little bit further.
It's okay if you're going further. That's exactly what next verse is going to come, and you are right. So this is how I can expand this example. That's a good one. Suppose there is a person who eats meat, and he loves meat. Suppose, in this example. So, and for some reason, for health reason or spiritual reason, whichever you want to call it, he decided one day, I don't want to eat meat, right? So now, but he's going to get tempted because he loves it. So he will say, I will not go to that side of the store. तो वो हो गया सेंस कंट्रोल कि मैं उधर जाऊंगा ही नहीं. हाँ, अब वो कहता है कि नहीं, उसने अपने मन को समझाया कि देखो दिस इज नॉट अ गुड थिंग एंड ब्ला ब्ला एंड ऑल दैट. उसका माइंड कन्विंस हो गया. अब वो कहता है मैं जाऊंगा तो भी मैं खरीदूंगा नहीं और रिएक्ट नहीं करूंगा. दैट बिकम्स द सेकंड पार्ट व्हेन यू आर कंट्रोलिंग फ्रॉम माइंड लेवल. सी व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. जो आप बोल रहे हो वो तो एकदम हाई लेवल है, उसको जरा भी उसमें फ्लटर भी नहीं होता है उसका माइंड, बिकॉज यू डोंट केयर अबाउट इट. तो उसमें तो कोई प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है. बट हियर ये यज्ञ की बात कर रहे हैं. हमारे पास है टेम्पटेशन, हाउ डू आई मैनेज माई टेम्पटेशन. सो वन कंट्रोल इज तुम जाओ ही नहीं उस तरफ. बोलते ना देखेंगे ही नहीं तो हमारा मन ही नहीं ललचाएगा. दूसरा बात है, अरे ऐसे हायर स्टेज में आ जाओ कि अगर तुम जा भी रहे हो और वो दृश्य दिखाई भी दे रहा है लेकिन तुम्हारा माइंड रिएक्ट नहीं कर रहा है उसके ऊपर. So that's another way you can clearly understand this example. To make sense?
At that level, mind will not process the perception.
Yeah, mind has become convinced. You know, आप अपने मन को समझाते जा रहे हो एक higher level पे. You know, कि this is not good for you, and that's why mind will start. Okay, now I'm not going to react even if I see it. So true. That's exactly what this whole thing is. Okay. Last
If
one.
the former, I'm going to read the last paragraph. If the former method is a technique of controlling the stimuli at the very gateway of the senses, the latter is a different technique of controlling the same from the inner and therefore more subtle level of perception called the mind.
See, एकदम summarize कर दिया उसको.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This clearly told you what it is. So the first one is Dhamma, other one is Shama. So now when they say Dhamma, Shama, Shama, Dhamma, Uparati and all, now you know what they're talking about.
After thus explaining these four methods, yet another technique has been propounded by the Lord in the following stanza.
So now it is coming, same concept, taking to another level, कि भाई ज्ञान की ज्योति से उसको जैसे कि कंट्रोल कर दिया. दैट्स व्हाट इट इज. अगर वो एकदम, अभी तो हम समझाते कर रहे थे, जब वो ज्ञान बैठ जाता है ना हमारे माइंड में, तो फिर वो हाल होगा जो मीना जी कह रही थी कि कुछ होगा ही नहीं. कितना भी आ जाए सामने, नथिंग विल हैपन. वो नेक्स्ट स्टेज है. दैट्स द व्हाट दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. सो आई एम गोइंग टू डू द chant the words to the Sanskrit and explain a little bit and then we'll read.
I have a comment on this. Is when I did, I interpreted a little differently. I thought when they were saying that you are offering hearing, that is, don't hear anything bad. So they sacrifice that. And when they say others offer sound, to me it came out like as if you are offering. You're not going to talk nonsense. You're not going to say things which are not required. So I thought maybe that's what they were saying, to control that way.
What you're saying is
right or not, don't know.
See, one of the Swamis said it very nicely about these verses and all that. He said they are giving you an outline what to do. उसमें तुम अपना adjustment कर सकते हो. You know, and so what आप बोल रहे हो सुशील जी, वो भी एक बहुत अच्छी बात है. उसका सार वही है जो आप बोल रहे हो. उसको हम थोड़ा इधर उधर से समझा के बता रहे हैं, पर मेनली क्या बोल रहे हैं वो लोग कि ये जो अपनी 5 इंद्रियां हैं ना, उनको हेल्दी रखो. उनको बेकार में डोंट बम्बार्ड इट विद नेगेटिव थिंग्स. You know, जैसे भद्रम करने वृषुण्याम देवा. Remember we have that. That's exactly what it's saying, that may we hear auspicious things. So हो गया कि नहीं, जो आपने बोला वो उसका सार ही है. So that's totally fine. Yeah. ओवरऑल यही है जो आप बोल रहे हो. Did you read the connecting one already? You did. I'm going to chant, right? Anything else from anyone? Comment or want to add anything? Okay. सर्वाणीन्द्रियकर्माणि प्राणकर्माणि चापरे आत्मसंयमयोगाग्नौ जुह्वति ज्ञानदीपिते. Sarvani is all, Indriya Karmani is functions of the senses, Prana Karmani functions of the breath, vital energy, Cha is an, Apare is others, Atma Sanyama Yoga Agno. In the fire of the yoga of self-restraint, Juvhati is sacrifice, Jnana Deepite, kindled by knowledge. So now let's analyze this. ये क्या बोल रहे हैं? Now he's talking about self-control at a subtler level. एक तो ग्रॉस लेवल पे हो गया विल पावर से, ओ दिस इज बैड, आई डोंट वांट टू डू इट, मेरा मन कर रहा है करने को बट आई एम नॉट गोना डू इट. तो वो भी एक तपी है, एंड दैट इज ऑल्सो लाइक अ यज्ञ. बट नाउ इट्स एट अ सटलर लेवल विद अ डीपर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ विजडम. ज्ञान की दीप से जो विजडम तुमने जलाया है उसमें तुमने संयम किया हुआ है. सो फर्स्ट स्टेप इज टोटली फाइन, कि विल पावर से करो, बट you know that willpower is not going to last for too long. फिर लोग फिसलना शुरू कर देते हैं. Classic example is, addicts of different things. Addiction doesn't have to be totally harmful. चाय का addiction और cigarette का और drugs का वगैरह, अगर वो seed अंदर रह जाता है एक दिन फूट के बाहर आ सकता है. तो विल पावर का ये डेंजर है. तो इसलिए ही इज टेलिंग यू ओके नाउ गो वन स्टेप फर्दर, उसको विजडम से तुम निकाल के. तो इट्स लाइक द वर्ड दैट स्वामी जी यूजेस इज सब्लिमेशन. when तुमने उसको ज्ञान से और उसको एकदम सब्लिमेट कर दिया, अब वो है ही नहीं तुम्हारे में, वो रोस्ट कर दिया सीड को, काइंड ऑफ थिंग. सो दैट्स व्हाट इट इज. And then one example that one of the Swami gave was very good, and I think I discussed it. मेरा मन कर रहा है किसी को एक जोर से थप्पड़ मारूं, लेकिन मैं नहीं ऐसे होल्ड कर रही हूं, तो वो हो गया पहले वाला वर्स का विल पावर से मैं कर रही हूं. और अब वो ख्याल ही नहीं आएगा मेरे मन में करने का. देन इट इज ज्ञान दीप, दीप से मैंने किया हुआ है, द फायर ऑफ नॉलेज, सो दैट्स व्हाट इट इज बेसिकली. And then one of the Swamis gave a very good example also. He said ये जो second one है ना, ये वाला जो लोग वर्स करने वाले हैं, this is more like when you are sitting in meditation. It is more applicable at that time. There's one viewpoint. एक तो है कि जब तुम संसार में घूम रहे हो, then you have to do this sense control and all that. But जब तुम बैठते हो ना, like when you are trying to connect to God, that time you develop that thing. And how you do it, and he's saying that वो पतंजलि योग सूत्र में है ना, यम नियम से शुरू होता है. यम नियम फिर आता है प्रत्याहार, धारणा, ध्यान, समाधि, राइट. यम नियम, प्राणायाम, आसन एंड ऑल दैट. तो यम नियम तो ये हो गया शम दम टाइप का हो गया, एंड देयर आर अदर थिंग्स ऑल्सो, समडे वी विल डिस्कस इट. बट द 3 things he talked about is प्रत्याहार, धारणा एंड ध्यान. So what is pratyahar means? Withdrawal from the worldly things. That's the meaning of pratyahar. So when I'm sitting in meditation, I'm not thinking about the world, so that's called withdrawal. So now I withdrew. Now what do? Then I do dharana. And dharana means I bring up that all that, whatever I have learned about Bhagwan, and I try to connect to that. And I'm making an effort to connect, that is dharana. And when I get absorbed in it, then it is dhyan. So he's talking about that once, because we know that, I don't know how many of you have heard that they say कि जो हमारी वासनाएं है ना, हमारी जो क्या बोलते हैं वो seeds हैं, संस्कार जो भी बोलते हो, the things that we do, it get roasted in meditation. So how do you get into that akarma mode? This is one of the techniques, because in meditation you roast your vasanas, and this is how you do it. So that's what this verse is kind of talking about. Any question on this? Dharana, dhyan, pratyahar, dharana, and samadhi. Not samadhi, nahi pahunche, sorry. Pratyahar, dharana, and dhyan. what exactly it means. I thought he explained it very nicely, you know. So basically, in the fire of understanding, I give all my activities, I do it that way. And then another thing I wanted to explain is in Vedanta, or in the way Swamiji explained, when you say pranas, right? Everybody talks about pranas. Some people only connect pranayam to a breath, where you're controlling the breath. But Swamiji says pranas means bringing all the activities and kind of controlling them when you are meditating. Because pranas are expression in our body of all the physiological things that happens, you know, like pachan kriya, shwas kriya, and all those different things, you know, क्या बोलते हैं, जो रक्त संचालन जो होता है, जो blood जाता है, everything comes under pranas. You know, they are not saying that stop all that, so don't misunderstand. But because of all that activity, we can function outside. So he's saying conserve all that energy and put it, you know, in the fire of knowledge at that time when you are meditating. That's what it means, you know, that taking the pranas or uski ahuti tum de rahe ho, for that half an hour, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, you are trying to control all the external activities that are possible with pranas only. You are bringing it in this fire over here. It's like a metaphor, but that's what it means. Okay, so yeah, we can read now. Any question on this? Let's see. Who would like to read? Anybody who's not read for a while would like to read? Nobody's offering. I will ask our designated Meeraji.
27. Others, again, sacrifice all the functions of the senses and the functions of the breath, vital energy, in the fire of the yoga of self-restraint, kindled by knowledge.
So you saw that how Swami, I mean here they put breath likha, par usme parentheses mein vital energies likha. So don't look at the breath only as jo swas lete hum log wo. That's not the only thing in pranas. It's all the vital energy of our body. And so the way it is in the fire of yoga of self-restraint, it is self-restraint, but it is kindled by knowledge. That's the difference in this verse, that, you know, kindled by knowledge, not by just forcing it, but knowledge.
All the activities of the sense organs, Gyan Indriyas, and the organs of action, Pran or Karma Indriyas, are offered into the knowledge kindled fire of right understanding, control of the ego by the better understanding of the divine reality is called here as the yoga of self-restraint.
So this is a very, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Atma Sanyam Yoga. So you saw that whatever I told you, this has summarized in this. You know, that prana, and then when they say karm indriya, because प्राणों की वजह से कर्म इंद्रिया काम करती है ना? So that's the connection over here. So it's very, in Vedanta, it's very important to understand these terms have a very deeper meaning, you know, not superficial meaning. And when you say yog can be, the word means the main thing is I'm connecting or uniting with the higher. It can be any method, and this is now this method over here.
In all these attempts, it is interesting to note how Krishna is dragging the frightening term yoga into almost a licentious usage, so that the ordinary man who had learned in the Krishna era to get frightened away by the very term yoga may feel at least that term to be a safe and tame one.
Yeah, he's just making, because yoga is used so many different ways in this. So he's saying that, you know, yoga can be, like I told you, if you keep that definition in mind, it'll become completely clear. And also, you know that every chapter is called yoga of something. Arjuna Vishada Yoga, every chapter is yoga. So every chapter he's giving you a technique how to connect to higher. And then just to remind you, somebody might say, oh, Arjun ka depression yoga kaise ban sakta hai? How can that be? But because he got so depressed, he wanted to connect to the higher. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes our pain and depression becomes the reason for yoga. That's what it means. So anything that takes you to a higher is yoga.
This is the most direct method to live as the self and not as the delusion born ego center. A true spiritual knowledge supported by one's own intimate experience of it is absolutely unavoidable. The path of discrimination, vikar, vivek, lies through a constant attempt at distinguishing between the limited lot of the ego and the divine destinies of the spirit. Having discriminated thus, to live more and more as the self and not as the ego is to restrain the self by the self. Atma samyan.
Atma Sanyam actually the way
Sanyam.
Atma Sanyam.
Okay. Atma Sanyam. By this process, it is evident how the mad ramblings of the organs of perception and action can be completely restrained and entirely conquered.
Okay, so here
Controlling of the sense. Sorry.
I was just going to say the path, shuru mein aapne padha na, the path of discrimination. It's not vikar, it's actually vichar. But the way they do English transliteration, sometimes वो C लगा देते हैं. So वो विचार करना मतलब, you thinking. बोलते हैं ना विवेक बुद्धि. So we are what क्या विचार कर रहे हैं हम लोग कि भाई सत असत का विचार की what is real and unreal, and we have discussed that only Brahman is real, everything is a, so all that comes under this. When we say path of discrimination of vivek buddhi, that's what it means. Okay, that's one thing. And atma sanyam ka the definition, they are restraining the self by the self. That's what basically we are making an attempt to do this control because with better understanding of real and unreal in the world. So whatever is ephemeral and changing, if we start getting disturbed with it, so we realize that, hey, now I don't need to get disturbed because this is all changing thing. Hold on to that Brahman. That's what is talking about.
So I was sorry, I was just going to read the footnote here for Atma Sanyam. And it says controlling of the sense organs of both perceptions and knowledge is not possible until the seeker's mind is turned fully upon the contemplation of the self. Hence, this is called as the restraint of the self, individual personality by the self.
So basically, he's just telling you कि जो दूसरे जो method है ना, उसमें हमको थोड़ा success जरूर मिलेगा, लेकिन पूरा नहीं कंट्रोल कर सकते हम खाली विल पावर से. That's what he's telling you. जब तक वो ज्ञान का दीप नहीं जलेगा ना, पूरा कंट्रोल नहीं होगा. That's why he's slowly taking you to that path. And then I just wanted to bring one also point more, that when we do, Geeta ka Mahatma, in a sense, ki Geeta kyun padhna chahiye? Like when we do it with children and all that, if 16, 17 years old, if you tell them, read the scripture, they're not that much interested, they think it is kuch aisa hai. But you ask them, hey, do you want to be happy in life? And who wants to be unhappy? Nobody. Everybody wants to be happy. True happiness you can only get when you have this knowledge. Because everything else is going to be temporary. Like बोलते ना कि किसी को I'm very depressed and all that, तो चलो थोड़ा movie देख लिया, कुछ ये कर लिया, temporarily you might feel okay. But then again the problem will come. As soon as that जो भी तुमने remedy किया वो खत्म होगा, फिर तुम depression में चले जाओगे, anger, frustration, whatever. But only this kind of knowledge can eradicate it from the baseline. So that's why he's making that, जो आपने footnote पढ़ा ना, कि भाई जब तक हम लोग को वो ज्ञान दीप नहीं होगा, तब तक वो completely जा ही नहीं सकता. So that's why we should move towards that. Zamina ji, you were saying something.
No, I just the footnote explained, because I was thinking about the ego, restraint, the self, and the self by the self. The self is the ego self, restrained by the Atma self. So that's what I was trying to connect, how the ego is restrained by the self, by the knowledge, by that. So that's what I was trying to
I mean,
get at.
एक थोड़ा लैंग्वेज में डिफिकल्टी हो जाती है बिकॉज इट्स सच अ सटल सब्जेक्ट कि एक बार 6th चैप्टर में उन्होंने बोला ना कि रेज योर सेल्फ बाय योर सेल्फ, राइट? इट्स द सेम थिंग बिकॉज इट्स अ सब्जेक्टिव जर्नी. So I have to do it myself, and ego is nothing but a false notion. But I'm trying to purify my mind and kind of merging with it. So whichever way you want to look at it. So you got the answer. So did you read the connecting thing one?
No, I will read it now. Exhausting the above mentioned 5 different techniques as though to bring to the understanding of Arjun that 100 other methods can be indicated, Krishna enumerates in haste another 5 methods in the following stanza.
See, the way he's explaining, this is like a limited method, so you can create your own method also. As long as you know the goal. It's something like, okay, I have to reach from here to New York. How I go there could be, I don't know if you can go by boat or not, but say there is a place you can go by boat, by car, by taxi, by bike. There are some people who bike, some people walk. They were like, somebody had put, किसने डाला था वो कि this man, I thought that was so interesting. One fellow walked to that Kumbh Mela and it took him years. Ben Baba. I thought that was unbelievable. That Ben Baba. I don't know how many of you saw it. This young American guy, it was Neeluji. I think it was amazing. It's a true story. I mean, he's over there. And he was speaking all good Hindi. So,
he was from Switzerland.
Switzerland, there you go. I thought that was so amazing story, And we had talked about it, कि जो people who have a complete faith in God, वो लोग बोलेंगे खाना भी कोई दे देगा. And he was one of the examples. He said he just went without anything, Here is in 2021 or whatever, whenever, just last... हमारे आंखों के सामने, in other words, let's put it this way. So it is not some cooked up stories that people do that much faith they have. It just was very inspiring, So many different things are there. So the next one, I'm not going to go too much into it, but we will just briefly talk and then we will go to Kathopanishad. That he's going to, like Krishna Bhagwan talks about other 5 things in there. Then, wealth, austerity, yoga, sacrifice, and study of scriptures. So these are the another 5 yagnas he's talking about. Means the scope is so big. And that's why I said there is no such thing that ये ही करने से होगा सिर्फ, खाली बैठ के प्राणायाम करने से ही होगा, नहीं तो नहीं होगा. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. You can pick up with whatever you want as long as you're making progress and you understand the goal. You can take any method, the whole buffet has been given to do. And we can also do all of it also. थोड़ा थोड़ा सब करेंगे तो बोलते हैं ना कि from all angles you can do it too. Then the effect will be even more. If we do understand each one and try each one little, then we'll progress. So any question, comment, or anybody want to add anything before I go to Kathopanishad? Meena, do you have something?
Yeah, I was just thinking that I stopped, but I thought if we do the first one has everything in it.
True.
Brahma, Arpanam, Brahma, Havi. I mean, if you think of that, then everything is Brahma. And then nothing is left out of it. If we can understand and do that
True.
one.
True. And that's why, it's interesting you said that. So somebody said, why did, usually in the world, you go from like below to higher, right? You always study the basic and then you go up. ये वेदांत में क्या उल्टा एकदम high पहले दे दिया, right? क्यों? So they said कि कोई ऐसा नचिकेता जैसा स्टूडेंट आ जाए तो उसको फिर क्या जरूरत है 6 साल तक कॉलेज में बैठने की. उसको हाईएस्ट बता दिया, उसको डिग्री मिल गई, वो चला गया, वो खुद ही मास्टर बन गया. But अगर नहीं समझ में आया, then you go to the next, to the next, to the next. That's all it is. So you are absolutely right. If somebody got Brahma Arpanam, everything automatically will be done.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it. It's the same thing like karma yoga, karma yoga and jnana yoga. If somebody is already in a jnana yoga और karma yoga तो वो कर ही रहा है, लेकिन जो नहीं है उसको पहले सीखना पड़ेगा to do one step at a time. That's so true, that point that you brought. Okay, so I'm going to close. We can go a little bit early too, because Kathopanishad has a little more stuff. And if we finish early, then we'll go early. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarvapapebhyah moksha ishyami ma shuchah. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.